All right. When I say science, you say rocks. Science! Rocks! Science! Rocks! I want you all to give yourself a big round of applause for staying with us through this rain. I can still see people streaming into the mall. It's incredible. And we are just about to march for science. This is our last speaker set coming up. So of course we got to deal with the biggest issue right now, which is climate change. And to lead off the set, we have one of the pioneers, a pioneering climate scientist, Professor Michael Mann from Penn State University. Now, Professor Mann was the first researcher, amongst the first researchers to produce the hockey stick graph of global temperatures. And he has been a tireless advocate for communicating climate scientists to the public, and that has brought him under fire from doubters and deniers. So please give a big, warm welcome for Professor Michael Mann.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am a climate scientist. I'm also an author. My most recent book, co-authored with Washington Post cartoonist Tom Tolles, is entitled The Madhouse Effect: How Climate Change Denial is Threatening Our Planet, Destroying Our Politics, and Driving Us Crazy. Well, in 1984, I headed off to Berkeley, a hotbed of activism. Not to demonstrate or protest, but to study applied math and physics amongst some of the world's leading scientists. Ironically, that path was the one that led me to become a combatant in a fierce political fight. I went on to study physics in graduate school and then into climate research. My path of discovery led me to publish the now iconic hockey stick curve in the late 1990s. Thank you. The hockey stick curve tells a visual story that the current warming spike is unprecedented as far back as we can go, and it's our continued burning of fossil fuels that's the culprit. Fossil fuel interests, along with front groups and politicians doing their bidding, attacked it and me. Despite dozens of independent confirmations of my findings by the National Academy of Sciences and many others, the effort to discredit this research and to discredit me personally continued. I was initially reluctant to be at the center of the fractious public debate over human-caused climate change, but I ultimately came to embrace that role. I've become convinced that there's no more noble pursuit than seeking to ensure that policy is informed by an objective assessment of scientific evidence. And so here we are at a crossroads. Never before have we witnessed science under the kind of assault it is right now. Never before have we needed science more to deal with a changing climate. All of us who care about science and our planet must now make our voices heard. And indeed, today, the entire world is listening. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm James Balog. I'm a patriot. I fight for spacious skies. I fight for amber waves of grain, for Purple Mountain's majesty. You all are patriots. But I do that by being a photographer, filmmaker, and scientist. We have met here today where a great battle for the mind, body, and soul of this country is being fought. Among other things, it is a battle between objective reality and ideological fiction. My team and I have collected visual evidence of the epic changes sweeping the earth today. I've seen how burning coal, oil, and gas cooks the air we breathe. I've seen how that altered air heats our forests until they explode in fireballs and homes burn down. I've seen through more than 1 million frames of time-lapse photography how trillions of tons of glacier ice are melting. I've seen that meltwater enter the seas and flood the coastlines of America. Nature isn't natural anymore. You and I and all 7.5 billion of us are changing the climate. It's what the real world evidence says. But you know, there's good news too. Each one of us can use our voices and our choices to take us down the road to a better future. I submit to you that we the people have an inalienable right, not just to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but to clean air, clean water, and a stable climate. Our survival demands it, and our children deserve it. And so, empowered by evidence and real world's truth, we shall fight for spacious skies. We shall fight for amber waves of grain. We shall fight for majestic mountains, and we shall march on these streets. We shall never, ever surrender. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Tercek from the Nature Conservancy. Thank you for being here today. It's great to be here with all of you, celebrating and defending the role of science in making the world a better place. And it's great to be here on Capitol Hill at the Nature Conservancy. We say, why should science be a partisan issue? Science protects everyone. Science provides us the clean air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil that grows our food, the coastlines that protects us from storms, and the tools to address the biggest challenge of all, climate change. This is no time to reduce investments in science. And by the way, there's reason for hope. Anybody who's my age will remember the 1970s. We had a real air pollution issue. Today the air is clean. You'll remember in the 70s, the air was so bad, the Clean Air Act was introduced. The auto industry said this will never work. It will cost billions of dollars. It will cost millions of jobs. But thanks to political pressure, that means you, and today too, the Clean Air Act was passed. And then science and industry got to work. Unleaded gasoline was quickly developed. The catalytic converter was invented. Today's cars are 99% cleaner than they were in 1970, and we enjoy clean air. We can do that again. We can do it now, but we need to do it here in Capitol Hill, and we need to ask all of you to engage in politics. Some people don't like politics anymore. They say the government is dysfunctional. Get over that. I don't like politics either, but I've learned our elected officials really will listen to you. So please speak up, vote, call your congressman, speak up. We can do it. Thank you very much. Go science.
By show of hands, how many of you guys believe that global warming is actually real, that temperatures are increasing? There were scientists who kind of made this connection that carbon dioxide was this thermostat, right? You crank up carbon dioxide, you crank up temperature, you crank down carbon dioxide, you crank down the temperature.
Hello, I'm Heidi Cullen, and I am marching in the rain today because I believe science is something that we need to defend. We need to defend science because science protects us. I'm a scientist by training, but I got my start as a science educator at the Weather Channel, where we created the first TV show focused on climate. We wanted to help people understand why climate change is a problem, but we also wanted to look at how to solve it, because that's what science is all about, elegantly solving problems. Case in point, our country's deadliest natural disaster hit Galveston, Texas. It was a hurricane in the year 1900. Back then, the problem was that we didn't have the tools to see it coming. As a result, our country made a commitment to invest in science and technology and build the best science infrastructure in the world. And today, that science, that technology saves lives. But there are many more problems to solve, urgent problems like climate change. Climate change brings with it many threats. The most immediate and costly is extreme weather. Floods, hurricanes, droughts, wildfires. We need to be able to predict those changing extremes, but we can't predict what we don't observe and study. And that's why we must protect the agencies, the programs, the scientists, and the engineers who are working to protect the air we breathe and the oceans that we fish in, that keep our natural beauty in check, and that really keep our communities and our families safe, because strong science means a strong American economy. It makes our world more livable and more beautiful for our children, and it keeps all of us safe. So I am so proud to march with all of you today. Thank you.
Brooke Bateman from the National Audubon Society, and I love birds and science. I grew up visiting my grandparents in northern Wisconsin, and I will never forget seeing bald eagles. At the time, I wondered, why can't I see bald eagles everywhere? As the proverbial canary in the coal mine, birds like the eagle were telling us that our actions were taking a toll on our wildlife and our wild places. This is because birds are our messengers. They show us when our world is changing. At the time of the first Earth Day, toxic pesticides and the destruction of habitats took a toll on the bald eagle and other majestic birds. Scientists and concerned community members working together made our leaders pay attention to science. Our environment got healthier, and the eagle and the other birds came back. So what are the birds telling us today? The birds I study, like the eastern meadowlark, are telling us that our grasslands, our coastlines, our rivers, the Arctic, our other critical ecosystems are in danger. The common loon is telling us that environmental pollution is once again taking its toll. And birds, like the wood thrush, are telling us that our climate is changing. Birds' ranges are already shifting and shrinking, and seasonal timings are unraveling. Birds don't have a political party. It's time once again for scientists and community to come together and to listen to what the birds are telling us. We must embrace our values and demand that our government use science to protect birds, other wildlife, and the places they live as our legacy for our future generations. Although birds are our messengers, we need to be their voice to keep science forefront in our policies, because we know when we protect the birds, we protect the earth that we all share. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julia Olson with Our Children's Trust, and I'm a lawyer who loves science. Did you know you have a constitutionally protected right to a climate system capable of sustaining human life? Well, you do, and it's thanks to 21 young people from around the country who are suing the Trump administration and the entire fossil fuel industry. Woohoo! What could be the trial of the century will start in federal court this year in Eugene, Oregon. And we are asking a judge to order the implementation of a national plan aimed at returning carbon dioxide levels to 350 parts per million. Climate science will get its day in court where facts are facts and where alternative facts are perjury. We need you all. Stand with us. Get your family and friends and your favorite scientists to stand with us. This case is Juliana versus the United States of America. Thank you. Woo!
Rachel's here. I need the view. All right, let me know if there's not going to be music.
Hello. You're here because you value science. I'm here because I value science for everything it's done to bring us to this moment and everything it's going to do for us for the next 30 to 50 years so that we can live more fairly on this planet cleanly. I'm here because of my son Daniel and my daughter Nia, and I'm here because both of their grandfathers are engineers. Science shows us the way forward. It provides us with the bedrock upon which we create the opportunities and so that we can understand the risks. Science has made it possible to provide renewable energy to people who live close to $2 a day across the world. Science has made it possible to capture emissions from steel and cement plants and to grow stone from that carbon dioxide. Science has made it possible to grow peanuts that can withstand heat and drought and which can short crop, provide nutrition with added vitamins and minerals. Science has made it possible to travel in safe, driverless electric cars in cities where buildings store energy. Science makes it possible to get a health consultation over your cell phone 1,000 miles from a doctor. Science is going to make it possible to have decentralized, decarbonized, digitalized energy that provides energy access for everyone. Science makes it possible that we don't leave anyone behind when we build the cleaner, fairer future for all. We should derive confidence from science, confidence to make decisions now that will spur us forward. Sustainable energy for all is dignity for all. Science will provide a pathway for dignity. Thank you.
I'm Elena Hight, and I am an athlete for the Earth. I've been traveling as a professional snowboarder for 14 years. Growing up in the mountains, I've been blessed to have always been connected to the environment. What I've seen over the past decade is winters getting shorter, snowfall decreasing, and strange weather patterns. We're either seeing rain or droughts or very large amounts of snowfall. For me and other snowboarders, we rely on snow for our passion, our love of the sport, and also for our careers. So we are very connected to how the human footprint affects the earth. It's a huge discussion in my community. My commitment to the environment comes out in the lifestyle choices I make, ultimately living my life mindfully. I do my best to use a refillable water bottle and always have one with me. Everything makes a big difference. All of the little things add up. We need the big things too. We need our leaders to understand how important the earth is and what they can do to help the crisis. I'm Elena Hight, and I am an athlete for the earth. Join me.
Welcome, fellow nerds, to Nerd Heaven, Nerd Asgard, and home of the Department of Energy, where I worked for 5 years on clean energy, what I like to call Nerd Power. Nerd Power is a solution to climate change. I'm Joe Romm, physicist and founder of climateprogress.org. My motto is, science is my passion, politics my duty. That quote is from one of the 3 nerd presidents remembered on the mall. But it's not from Lincoln, the only president nerdy enough to receive a patent. He even created the National Academy of Sciences to give him nerd advice. Nor is it from George Washington, a math and geometry nerd, what we would call today a STEM professional, who at age 17 became America's first county surveyor. As president, he said jobs like surveyor general needed, quote, scientific qualifications. He was so nerdy. In the first ever State of the Union address, he told Congress, there is nothing which can better deserve your patronage than the promotion of science and literature. It's Thomas Jefferson who said, science is my passion, politics my duty. He was president of America's oldest scientific society for 2 decades. During the entire time, he was vice president and president. He was so nerdy, he wrote a letter pointing out a math error in Newton's Principia, and you can Google it, and it is the nerdiest thing you've ever seen. One historian calls the Declaration of Independence a scientific paper whose open is Newtonian. We hold these truths to be self-evident. They were evident because you could see them and you could use your reason to figure them out. So nerds were crucial to founding and building this country. Nerds can do anything if we work together. We can save the climate with nerd power, but only if we defend science from attack. After all, climate change is reality, not reality TV. So the next time someone tells you science and politics don't mix, tell them about Washington, Lincoln, and Jefferson. I'm here with my daughter, Antonia, who was here with me on Earth Day 7 years ago when I could pick her up, and her friend Isabel. And I'll just leave by saying, live long and prosper, nerds. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nerd power.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for being here. It's so good to be here. As you know, I was born a long, long time ago in a country far, far away in Iran. And I loved going to space. The night sky was my playing ground. I imagined myself flying through the galaxies on board Starship Enterprise as a science officer always. And I even wanted to meet all those aliens and prayed that one day they would come and abduct me. As you can see, I'm still here, so my prayers haven't been answered yet. When I came to US, I didn't speak English. The only class when I enrolled in high school that I enjoyed was calculus because they spoke the universal language of math. My education and science is what opened up a whole new world to me. It allowed me to be an engineer, an entrepreneur, and eventually to realize my biggest dream of all, to go to space and be an astronaut. The language of science knows no race, no gender, no religion. It doesn't discriminate based on where you live or based on whether you're poor or wealthy. The apple falls from the tree under the same laws and accelerates the same way, whether it's in US or in Iran. That is why I love science. That is why I chose to be an engineer, to find solutions, to solve puzzles, and find solutions for the greatest challenges that humanity faces. I had the privilege of spending 11 glorious days on board International Space Station and to see our planet from up there. I can tell you, there is no word that can describe it. Our blue planet, it's so beautiful in the background, in the dark background of the universe. And it allows you to really, truly believe and see that there are no borders, that we have one home, a very fragile home that we need to protect. And it takes all of us to protect it. Science teaches us how to test and find the truth. It gives us power to break all barriers, to reach beyond the stars. I'm here today and supporting this march because I want to make sure our future generation even has better opportunities to reach their dreams and that we have a beautiful planet and a great future for all of them. Thank you for being here.
Great. I'm Holt, the CEO of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the world's largest general science organization. We march today to affirm to all the world that science is relevant, useful, exciting, and beautiful, that science is too important to people's lives to be denied or downgraded. As a professor of physics and later administrator of a national lab, I learned that science is the cleverest way ever invented to learn how things actually work. The stars, the earth, biological systems, and people. And I learned that science needs certain conditions to thrive. Free exchange of ideas, freedom to travel and collaborate, diversity of people and perspectives, and ample public funding. These conditions are threatened today and we must defend them. 20 years ago, I did something my science colleagues called crazy. I ran for Congress. Over 16 years working down the mall here, I saw that evidence should not be optional. Good policies start with an understanding of how things actually are. Today, thousands of people from all walks of life, all over the world, are saying that evidence verified by science is the only reliable way to make public policy. Policy that touches our lives in every way: health and economics and environment and transportation and security. Science doesn't replace personal faith or humane studies or poetry, but in all public matters, decisions should be based on evidence, not wishful thinking or rigid ideology. Science is society's best friend. Science is our government's best friend. Science is civilization's best friend. Science belongs to all people. Going forward, let's multiply the benefits that come from thinking like a scientist. When we engage with public leaders, let us all ask this question: what is the evidence? Thank you.
I'm Amy Purdy, and I'm an athlete for the Earth. Ever since I was little, I've been a huge advocate for the environment. It's our home. I'm a snowboarder, so I'm always looking at the weather and notice it every day. I'm aware when there's no snow when there's supposed to be, or when there's suddenly a huge amount of snow. I have to be aware. I'm aware of the trash that we produce as humans, so I'm trying to be conscious as I can, minimizing the amount of trash that I create. I live in the mountains, so if I see trash on the side of the road, I pick it up and I recycle it. And it's easy to be aware. It's just about making smarter decisions. It's up to us to take care of our environment. Like every person, I can leave a negative or a positive footprint. I try to make mine positive. It's not that hard to think on a bigger scale and not just think of ourselves. We need to think of our planet. We need to think of our home. I'm Amy Purdy, and I'm an athlete for the Earth. Join me.
Hey, are you almost ready to march? Are you sure? Okay, we have one more speaker. Her name is Christiana Figueres. I want you to give her the most incredible round of applause. This is the mother of climate change. She ran the UNFCCC, the UN agency that created the climate agreement. She brought the whole world together. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the climate agreement, and here is the person who brought climate change and our future all together in one place, Christiana Figueres.
So hi guys, you've heard a lot this morning. I have 3 questions for you. Are you ready? Because listen up, because these are not easy questions, okay? Not everybody can answer them. Question number 1, do you understand that the Earth is round and orbits around the sun? All right, question number 2, do you understand that gravity actually is exerting its physical pull on all of us and on everything on the surface of the Earth? Question number 3, do you understand that climate change is already upon us? And that if we do not do something about it, it is only going to get worse for everyone? All right. Well, then we understand that we actually are at one of the most daunting crossroads in the evolution of human history. We're at the point where we must decide, are we going to ignore science? Or are we going to rise to the call of history and forge a new life on Earth paradigm? This life on Earth paradigm is where nature and humanity support each other. Can we do that? This is where energy is forever renewable and accessible to all. Can we do that? This is where transportation is clean and shared and smart. Can we do that? This is where the land is restored and is again producing the food that we need to provide the food security for those that don't have it today. Can we do that? All right, the good news is, you know that we can do that, but I have to tell you, we're already doing it. It's not a fairy tale. It is not a fairy tale. We already have more than 50% of the energy that was installed in this fantastic country was renewable energy last year. Did you know that Kentucky just decided to put the largest solar farm in the whole state on top of a coal mine? Did you know that China just closed its last coal plant around Beijing? And did you know that India has already announced that it will be at 60% renewable energy within the next 10 years? So we are getting there. We do have the technology. We do have the finance. All we need is the collective intentionality. But my friends, swallow the alarm clock, because we cannot be late. Science has established that we must bend the curve of emissions by 2020. That is the challenge of science, and we will rise to that challenge. We must bend the curve by 2020. And we will do that because, frankly, we don't have another option. Now, my friends, for many years, I had a recurrent dream. I had a dream of 7 little pairs of eyes, black eyes always, that looked at me and asked me, "What did you do?" I want to tell you that question, I have understood after many years, is not a question to me. It's a question to all of us alive today. What did you do? And the answer, my friends, must be that we work together to answer that question in just one way. Not that we did everything that we thought was possible, but that we did everything that we knew was necessary, because in that difference lies the future of mankind. Thank you.
Well, I was wrong. We have one last person who wanted to say something to us. Let me see if I can get it up there. Pope Francis just tweeted at us, so tweet it at you. See if they'll get it up there. There it is. So we'll let him have the last word for now. Thanks.
Everyone's here? Get them all out here. Who's come to say goodbye? Get them out here.
Okay. It is almost time. March, 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 march. So, in wrapping up, I would like to thank all of you for coming out here in the weather to hear our amazing speakers, Derek Muller, Cara Santa Maria, I think, yes, my wonderful co-host. We're going to start a band together after this is done. We'd like to thank the Earth Day Network, the March for Science, and the National Park Service, especially them. We would like to thank the National Park Service for especially putting us right here in proximity of you-know-who. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for, one more time, John Baptiste and Stay Human. March!